Here again, a lot of rumors. The rumor mill has been pumping. I heard from our executive producer. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 21. We wanted to come on here very quickly this morning, Thursday morning, April the 24th, before the draft. Jacksonville Icemen have lost 3 straight playoff games, all in overtime. It looks over with for the Icemen in the ECHL. However, I believe it's a best of 7. I got some news it was best of 5. Now I believe it is best of 7. But the Icemen, one more loss, they're done. They've lost 3 straight East Coast Hockey League first round playoff games by 1 goal. And mind you, in 3 straight overtimes. Close games. But the Everblades about to finish the Icemen off in the East Coast Hockey League playoffs. Last time I checked, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp were 16-6. Man, what a great year they're having. Best start I can remember the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp ever getting off to. So the Jumbo Shrimp, AAA baseball, off to a great start. Now, quickly to the Jaguars. Of course, we talk North Florida Entertainment, Jacksonville Jaguars, NFL. My executive producer says 2 guys, 2 names. Offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU, or the Michigan defensive tackle Graham, right? I'd better pull up a mock draft where we can take a look at it and get the names right and that type of thing. But the draft is tonight. The draft is absolutely tonight. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, of course. For your real estate needs, Saucer Realty and Capital. There's a link on our website at bigjreport.com. I was on Mad Max's show last night on Wednesday night. Had an interview with Max. Max had a great show. Played some Leonard Skinner for me after the interview. And Max plays a lot of great requests to madmaxmix.weebly.com each and every Wednesday night. Now, the mock draft keeps changing, and all of a sudden, this Giante, who was born in Jacksonville, Florida, the running back out of Boise State, according to John Gaylor, our correspondent and contributor to the podcast and also bigjreport.com, he said there's a lot of buzz on running back. What's the guy's name? Ashton Giante, who was born in Jacksonville, Florida. Mock drafts going up. Everybody's putting one out. Schrager from NFL Network put one out. It was crazy, but he had Giante going to the Jaguars too. This mock draft is from, I think, one of the guys, Michael Schwartz with USA Today. He's got the Titans with Cam Ward, number 1. Travis Hunter, Cleveland Browns, number 2. Giants, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, going 3. New England Patriots grabbing Will Campbell. Now, how about that? He has number 4 to the New England Patriots in the NFL. And I've got to give you my opinion. And now I see the same mock draft I'm looking at. Jacksonville Jaguars, Ashton Giante, running back out of Boise State, taking a running back early. And this is a mock, and all the mocks are a little bit different. So we'll see what happens tonight, in fact. But the 2025 mock drafts are out there. This is probably the earliest I've ever seen Will Campbell mocked to a team top 4. New England Patriots, Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU at number 4. The defensive tackle, our executive producer, JC, the old coffee boy, he says, mark it down, take it to the bank. It's either going to be Will Campbell to the Jaguars, the offensive tackle, or the defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mason Graham, now mocked to the Saints at number 9. And Mason Graham has been mocked to the Jags at number 5 for numerous weeks. We'll find out tonight, but man, this is interesting. It's kind of crazy. JC, our executive producer, says Will Campbell out of LSU, the offensive tackle of the Jags, or Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan to the Jaguars. One of those two guys. I believe either one of those guys will help the Jaguars. I think I'd prefer the offensive lineman. I'm looking for an offensive tackle, an offensive guard, and a defensive tackle early. Then you get into the cornerback safety scenarios in the low to mid rounds, after the first three positions I mentioned. Then you got, wide receiver, tight end, in the later rounds. Maybe a running back in the late rounds. But, man, these mocks are talking about Giante, a running back going number 5 overall to the Jaguars. I don't like it. I just have to tell you, I don't like it. Maybe Giante becomes a star for a long, long time in the National Football League. I don't know. But I don't like a running back that early in the draft. And my reasoning is, and the Jags have had this opportunity before to build the offensive line, and what has happened? They let it slide by. I'm going to tell you, when Trayvon Walker was drafted in 2022, late April of 2022, I heard Tony Baselli on a radio show about 10 minutes before the draft was made. And another former Jaguar said nearly the same thing. They thought the pick would be an offensive lineman back in 2022. This was the year after Trevor was drafted number 1 overall in 2021. And it was a number 1 overall pick. Jaguars had difficulty. They couldn't trade out of the number 1 pick, but still, Tony Baselli, back then he was not the executive director of football operations for the Jaguars like he is today on April the 24th, 2025. He thought that pick would be an offensive lineman, and so did another very prominent former Jacksonville Jaguars football player. So the Jaguars finally do they, and they've signed free agents, the backup center with the Bucks, McCary, the guy that can play almost every position on the offensive line, who did play in 17 games for the Baltimore Ravens in 2024. Who will be the pick? Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. Ashton Giante, who's picking up a big buzz in recent days, according to our correspondent and contributor John Gaylor. Is it a smokescreen? I think it may be. And the best scenario might be for the Jags to trade back a slot or two, and if Will Campbell's still there, grab him. But now you got people going to say, man, Will Campbell's ready to play in the NFL, and I think he could be all pro. The latest mock draft that I'm looking at, and there's many. Some people got Will Campbell around 9th or 10th. But this one particular mock draft from USA Today, Michael Middlehurst Schwartz he's got Cam Ward, number 1 to the Tennessee Titans. Cleveland Browns, Travis Hunter, the wide receiver cornerback out of Colorado, number 2 to the Browns. Number 3, Abdul Carter, defensive end, outside linebacker out of Penn State, 3 to the Giants. Number 4, Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU to the Patriots. Number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars, Ashton Giante, running back out of Boise State. And he was born in Jacksonville, Florida, went off to play his college football at Boise State. LA Raiders, when I say the LA, Oakland, well, they are the Las Vegas Raiders now. Number 6 in this particular mock draft, Armand Bimbo, offensive tackle out of Missouri. I like Will Campbell. I like Bimbo to help build your offensive line. You can only get one of those two guys. There's another guy that you could get maybe 2nd, 3rd round, Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, a very, very good guard and high on the guard list as far as NFL prospects go. Jets are mocked to get Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Carolina, Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. New Orleans Saints, I've seen them mocked. I saw a mock yesterday that said the Saints were going to get Will Campbell at number 9. Now I see the Saints could get Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, at number 9. Our executive producer, JC, said yesterday, he says, take it to the bank. The Jaguars will draft Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU, or Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. I've seen the film on Mason Graham, and he's got a great film. He's a run stuffer. He's a mucker. I think he was described as a mucker by John Gaylor as well. But where does this thing go? It seems now like the Jags all over the place are saying Ashton Giante, the running back out of Boise State, at number 5. Could that be a colossal mistake? Well, he could end up being a very good football player, but there's a big but here. You finally have a chance to build the offensive line. Look at the Eagles, who won the Super Bowl last year. Landon Dickerson and others across their offensive line. They built an offensive line. They built a defensive line. And if you get too flashy with the pick, too cute with the pick, and you go with Ashton Giante, why? Because he's from Jacksonville? I think that's a cool story. However, the Jags, before a running back, they need to build this offensive line. That is my opinion. I'll go down swinging on that. I really will. I'm Scott with the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're brought to you by Salsa Realty and Capital. Your real estate needs in North Florida, whether it's home, residential, business, or commercial real estate. I had the rock and roll music playing, JC. Yeah, we pulled Patrick out here with the guitar, and now I stopped the guitar because JC sometimes doesn't like that music in the background. But we don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out tonight. Ashton Giante at number 5. Do the Jags trade back? I don't see ever a scenario where they trade up. I don't see that. They could trade back maybe 1 to 3 slots to get an extra guard after getting an offensive tackle. I hope. Ashton Giante at number 5. Where did this come from? Man, this buzz. John Gaylor told me yesterday on April the 23rd. He said, man, there's a lot of buzz for Ashton Giante. But is it something the Jags are putting out there? Is it a smokescreen? And do they really want an offensive tackle? Because the thought is maybe Walker Little is not an all-pro, but Will Campbell could be. Maybe Mimbu could be. Episode show number 21 of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. When I played at the casino a long time ago, back in the Bahamas at Freeport, the game that was the favorite game was Blackjack 21. This is episode show number 21. And as you know, as all of you know, the draft is a crapshoot. What if the guy you draft gets hurt in preseason like ETN did? Now, you got these guys like ETN and Tank Bigsby. They can run the football. Man, draft and build that offensive line. Mason Graham, great film. If they pick him at 5, I don't have a problem with that either. I'd prefer an offensive lineman, though. Out of the first 3 picks, I want an offensive tackle, a defensive tackle, and a guard somewhere in there. Then we go cornerback, safety, mid to late rounds, wide receiver, tight end, maybe a linebacker, running back very late in the draft. That's my hope. But, man, I don't know. The Gladstones will be in charge tonight when the draft cranks up at Green Bay. What will happen? It's great theater. It's live TV. This is live stuff. Reality television live, and 32 other teams and cities involved in the entire country and world will have their eyes on the NFL draft. I'm Scott with the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Give me Will Campbell. Give me Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, but I would prefer Will Campbell with the offensive tackle. Mimbu would be okay. But Ashton Giante, a running back at number 5? I don't like that. But he may turn out to be a great player wherever he goes, whether it's here, there, or wherever. I'm Scott with the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Man, you guys have a great day. Icemen are going to go down. They've lost 3 straight overtime games. The Jumbo Shrimp off to like a 16-6 start in AAA baseball. Check the concerts for North Florida at bigjreport.com in the Neighbors 2 section. You guys have a great day. Good luck to the Jags. Duval. And pick some offensive lineman guys. Come on. Go Jags.